Hi, and welcome from Victoria, Australia. I'm Gavin Merriman, the Health, Safety and Environment Manager for a corporate agriculture business in Australia. My topic today is, can we influence behaviour or is it hard controls only? To answer this topic, the following questions are in play. 1, can we alter behaviour through conversations? 2, does the quality of the data impact on the ability to alter the behaviour? 3, if we modify the behaviour, is the outcome sustainable? And 4, does the new behaviour reduce our risk? We were established in dairy in 1996 and are based in southeastern Australia. We're either side of the Victorian capital, Melbourne. We have 18 dairies when this research was conducted. We are now 28 dairies. Of the 18 dairies, we've got 12,500 cows and produce greater than 100 million litres of milk per annum. In this research, we had 36 quad bikes and 20 side-by-sides. We've got approximately 145 team members. Mobile equipment on farms is the Victorian WorkSafe Authority's highest risk and sharpest focus. Agriculture makes up 30% of all workplace fatalities in Victoria, but agriculture only makes up 3% of the Victorian working population. Quads and side-by-sides, we've had 3 rollovers in 4 months in 2018. The first such incident in 10 years. It resulted in 2 long-term injuries to 2 of our valued staff members. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, the ACCC, a federal government agency, stated in its 2018 Regulation Impact Statement, the frequency and causes of quad bike-related deaths and injuries suggest that the current design of quad bikes sold in Australia does not ensure an appropriate level of safety for the marketed use in Australia. In the same report, the ACCC went on to say 95% of all quad bikes sold in Australia meet the current European and USA standards. The Australian Federal Government WorkSafe Authority states 64% of all quad bike accidents happen on farms. And there were 130 quad bike deaths overall between 2001 and 2011, or according to the University of New South Wales, up to 50 fatalities from 2014 to 2018. Or approximately 10 fatalities per annum across Australia. The Rural New South Wales real-time emergency surveillance of hospital admissions data for quad bike incidents of 3,351 admissions between 2006 and 2012 found that 65% indicated terrain and 33% indicated speed were the reason for the injury. If the problem is quads and side-by-sides, we need to be open-minded to the cause and to focus on this and have a solution. In March of 2019, using SurveyMonkey, I surveyed our quad bike and side-by-side operators. We had 55 responses of approximately 65 ticketed operators. We asked them if we tracked the speed of the device, would they reduce their speed? 60% said they would reduce speed. In a free text field, we also asked what is the greatest risk, and speed and terrain rated very highly, with 30% of respondents stating that they operate in steep terrain. A word of caution when considering behaviour as the solution. We must consider all behaviour, not just that of quad bike operator. Andrew Hopkins from the Australian National University and a leading author stated, the moment we begin to ask why behaviour occurred, we move back along the various causal chains, which invariably implicate management. Just as the great majority of accidents can be attributed to unsafe behaviour by frontline workers, the great majority of accidents are at the same time attributed to actions or inactions by management. Management supply the quad, supply the work program, provide the staffing level. You reap what you sow is perhaps the 5-word slogan Hopkins is suggesting. Recent survey research conducted on behalf of the Agricultural Division of WorkSafe Victoria in August 2020, when trying to understand the safety culture of different farming approaches, discovered that 67% of respondents believe strongly or agree that doing things which could be unsafe is an unavoidable part of farming. 2/3 of respondents believe unsafe activities is unavoidable on a farm. Seems we are coming from a very low base to impact on behaviour when respondents believe unsafe is unavoidable. Our solution to changing behaviour, if we're to accept we need quads, then let's reduce the risk. In play on our farms are ROPS, crash helmets, external recognised training, standard devices and procedure controls, including safe work procedures and rules regarding no loads on quads. We considered alternatives, axle spaces, wide tyres, etc., but landed with controlling the identified risks of speed and terrain. That's where the data from the research takes us. We trialled 3 different GPS trackers for 40 plus days on a farm in South Australia. We identified early that we needed the operator to understand when they were outside of the manager's expectations. So we engaged with one supplier to install a feedback mechanism, hence the yellow strobe light that indicates when they are speeding and when they are in a no-go zone. We understood that this trial, that speed was an issue. Even with speed being tracked and operators knowing we knew they were speeding, they still went way over the permitted 30 kilometres per hour limit regularly and sometimes substantially. We geofenced all properties into red no-go zones, yellow 20 kilometre per hour zones, and blue paddock at 20 k's and blue laneways at 30 kilometres an hour. I'll ask you to understand the impact on the farms with this approach. The photo on the left has a paddock on one of our farms with a gully dissecting the paddock. This is in red, so it's a no-go zone. The farm manager built a level crossing to facilitate a safe passage for quads and side-by-sides when droving. So this is not a no-go zone, but you can imagine the impact it has on droving with that no-go zone right through the middle of a paddock. Can we alter behaviour through conversations? In September 2020, we again surveyed the quad bike operators. Now there's 72, up from 65 in March 19, and had a return rate of 61 of the 72 operators. We asked if their manager had held discussions with them about speeding using GPS data. 95% indicated they'd been spoken to using this data. 85% stated the installation of the GPS had reduced the speed. The proof is in the data. Speed reports from April to July in 2020 has seen a peak of nearly 700 reports per week to a low of less than 100 per week. Some of this reduction can be attributed to the installation of speed restrictors over a 6-month period. Whenever a quad bike went into a shop for a service, the restrictor was set at 35 kilometres per hour. So speed reports were still possible, especially in the paddocks and laneways. The GPS devices were installed in an 8-week period from April to May. Once that reporting was established on the app, we start to see an impact. In the period of 20th of April to the 4th of May, we have seen a drop from nearly 700 reports per week to approximately 250 speed reports. This drop in speed reports is in a 2-week period. Staff being aware of being spoken to reduced speeds reports by 64% approximately in a 14-day period. When we review the no-go zone data to understand if conversations impact on behaviour, this report is exclusive and can't be impacted upon by any other device. We're presented with a solid result, but also a reminder that people's responses to surveys may not be supported by the data. Firstly, the responses to the survey in March 19 and September 20 are nearly identical. 30% in March indicated they operate on steep terrain, and then in September 20, 30% have indicated that they have not reduced their riding in steep terrain. But when we review the no-go zone entry reports from our database for ATV devices, we get a reduction of 126 to 54 in a 10-week period. In particular, the farm I discussed earlier with the watercourse through the middle of it, with one crossing in the paddock, reduced its no-go zone entries from 31 to 0 in 14 days, a significant impact on no-go zone entries and a significant impact on risk. The Keele Centre, specialists in chartered psychologists and ergonomists, wrote a report for the British Health and Safety Executive in 2000 on behaviour and safety. Sorry that it's 20 years old, but its age makes it more powerful as its application is still current. They stated, also, once behaviour has been measured, people need to see the results. Immediate, regular and specific feedback is more effective than feedback which is delayed, infrequent and vague. In our program, every farm manager and assistant farm manager gets instant results of speeding and no-go zone entries via the app. They can open the app and obtain live data. Every operator has instant feedback via the strobe light. Reports are immediate, regular, thus providing the data conduct the feedback sessions. The Keel Centre went on to write, behaviour can be changed by providing appropriate reinforcement and feedback. Thanks, praise and support. The data can't be disputed. It is accurate and timely. In the Removing Obstacles to Safety book by Agnew and Snyder in 2008, they wrote, while measurement is not the cause of behaviour change, it is a critical prerequisite. Precise measures provide us with an accurate information on frequencies of safety behaviours. Measurement does not change behaviour. Measurement simply enables the use of feedback and reinforcement, the most important elements of changing behaviour. We were not restricted to observations or interpretations or subjectivity. We didn't have, you were going too fast, no, I wasn't, yes, I was, no, you weren't, yeah, he said, she said. We had accurate data. We had over 8,000 reports of speeding and that were recorded, and we never applied discipline to any of our staff. We offered no financial incentive to reduce speeding. We offered knowledge to management and team members in a timely manner, allowing the teams to achieve the results, allowing the opportunity for the team to discuss the behaviour. I believe we applied a value-based approach to behaviour modification. In the book, The DNA of Safety Coaching, a guide to empowering people to achieve safety and performance excellence, they discuss this value-based approach. We allowed the opportunity for farm managers to provide leadership of the team rather than the external management of the site. We avoided controlling accountability, corporate running the program, top-down approach. Rather, we applied accountability as a personal responsibility. It was site managed and governed, managed in the team. We provided empowerment opportunities. Control was not based on compliance. We didn't discipline, punish people. To control was based on commitment. It was the team that had the time based. Some took longer. We had allowed the teams to manage the impact. This approach resulted in a reduction of speed and no-go zone entries over a short period. This approach to behaviour modification, according to the Keel Centre, states we can expect impacts in other areas, including perhaps employee involvement and commitment to safety, perhaps willingness to take personal responsibility for safety, and perhaps an integration of safety with production and quality. We have impacted on safety without over-managing the process, but providing the tools and letting the teams meet the expectation. Any value adding we obtain from this approach will be gratefully accepted. I hope this behaviour is sustainable, but that is yet to be proven. We need longer to provide evidence, though initial speed and no-go zone report reductions are serendipitous. We have applied 2 risk assessments to understand the risk once we have installed the GPS device as a control. 1, we conducted with 10 of our experienced team an assessment of nearly 500 different risks. This considered alternatives and alterations to quads. We then took that assessment and had it peer reviewed externally to ensure we did not apply a farm-biased view. Safety professionals from electricity distributors, oil and gas industry, WorkSafe and commercial construction were taken through our risk assessment and agreed with our risk ratings. In the application of our risk assessment, we compared our current approach to the ACCC new standard that will be released in October 2021, WorkSafe Australia's guidance and WorkSafe Victoria guidance. I am comfortable in the robustness of the approach and the process to state we reduced our risk from an extreme 18 to a high 10 for the operation of quads, and a reduction of a high risk 17 to a medium risk 9 is achieved by the side-by-sides. The behaviour and the data indicate we have reduced risk, that the quad risk is high. On the hierarchy of control, is this engineering or training? Have we eliminated the risk? Can we still roll a quad or tip a side-by-side? According to Mr. Leeson, a union official that presented at a health and safety representative conference in Melbourne, this union safety official stated, everyone, that includes you and me, is at times careless, complacent, overconfident, and stubborn. At times, each of us becomes distracted, inattentive, bored, and fatigued. We occasionally take chances, we misunderstand, we misinterpret, and we misread. These are completely human characteristics. Because we are human, and because all these traits are fundamental and built into each of us, the equipment, machines, and systems that we construct for our use have to be made to accommodate us the way we are, and not vice versa. Our control for the quads is not elimination. It is driven by employee behaviour, based on knowledge, Is the risk level achieved acceptable to our organisation? Our legislation in Victoria is written with General Duties Part 3 Division 1. Eliminate risk to health and safety as far as reasonably practicable. To avoid doubt for the purpose of the regulations, this is spelled out in the following format. A, the likelihood of the hazard or risk concerned eventuating. The risk is still there. We can still roll a quad. B, the degree of harm that would result if the hazard or risk eventuated. The rollover could be at 30 kilometres an hour, and we would inflict severe and lasting injury on one of our team members. And C, what the person concerned knows or ought reasonably to know about the hazard or risk and any ways of eliminating this hazard or risk. My management, my governing board are all aware of the risk and how to eliminate it. And D, the availability and suitability of ways to eliminate or reduce the risk. There are alternatives, not ideally like for like, but they can operate the alternatives that are a safer option. The company I work for has reduced the risk, can quantify the risk reduction with solid, robust data. If I was to remember one quote when considering our control approach, it is from Andrew Hopkins in his book on the Longford gas plant explosion. Operators will inevitably make errors sooner or later, if it is possible for them to do so. The company I work for has decided the risk is still not managed. It has dictated that quads are to be removed from all farms in September 2021. Can we alter behaviour through conversations? 95% of quad bike operators have been in conversations with their managers on speed and no-go entry. We have seen a reduction of speed reports and no-go zone entry reports. We did not discipline. This was managed by the farm manager with his team. Yes, we can alter behaviour through conversations. Does the quality of the data impact? The data we presented was robust, it is current, it is presentable. Research indicates the data quality supports the ability to impact. Yes, the quality of the data assists our program to reduce speed and no-go zone entries. If we modify behaviour, is it sustainable? We managed to change behaviour. I'm not confident I can claim it's sustainable. More data required over a longer time frame. But I am cautiously optimistic. The way the quads are operated is being challenged and a new norm is being established. Does the new behaviour reduce our risk? We committed to a comprehensive review of our risk. We did reduce our risk. In the end, the reduction was not considered adequate. Further controls were required. Quads are removed by September 2021. Side-by-sides with a lower risk profile will be replacing quads. We can change behaviour, but in the end, management were not comfortable with this level of control. Management has moved to hard controls. Thank you for letting me share our journey, and I appreciate your time.